So Maggie, go ahead and say hi to everybody. And what we're going to ask people to do is say whether they've used ChatGPT or any other AI platform other than Google. Yes, no.
Yes, I
All
have.
right.
Yes.
All right. I can't really see people.
Yes.
Good. So where view? I want to see gallery. There we go. Okay. Excellent. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And while you're waiting, um, here's what we'd like you to do. Feel free to put your LinkedIn thing or email in there, but also we're curious if you have used ChatGPT or any other of the AI platforms other than Google. We're assuming everybody has done Google. And just say yes, no, or you can tell us which platform you've used. We're just going to use this time to kind of get a little grounding. All right. So perplexity, great. Julia, Marcus, yes. A lot of chat, right? Uh, Andy, you've also done it. That's terrific. Oh, Claude. All right. So that's a newish one for me, and I'm just trying that one out. That's great. Um, Terrific. Terrific. All right. So we are expecting quite a few people, but we want to get going, if that's okay with everybody. And so I'm going to start off. I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Amy Avergun, and I am a member, like probably most of you, of the Encore Network. I'm also a member of the program committee. And what I do for a living is I design workshops and presentations. And Jill, who is the co-presenter on this, is also a member of the program committee. And Jill volunteered to do a workshop on using AI in your job search. And so, being somebody who was pretty clueless, other than I had a chat GPT account that I never used, I said I would be glad to help her. So that's my role. I am here to help Jill uh, do this. So, Jill, do you want to introduce yourself and take it away?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. Really, I'm coming from a place of experience today. I'm not an expert in chat. I'm just somebody who uses chat daily. I happen to have my own business in corporate training. So, like Amy, I design workshops and seminars and programs on predominantly managerial and leadership training. My research is in aging and retirement, so I blog quite extensively about that. And I take to chat when I'm creating anything new. So if I'm creating, let's say, last week I was telling Amy I was on a panel where we were discussing inclusivity and diversity, and my role was to weigh in on how age should be playing a much greater part in the conversation. And while I have expertise in the area, I wanted to make sure that my research was up to date. So I took to chat. And recently, I've also taken to chat about just looking for possible teaching jobs. I'm an adjunct professor. I teach in our business school. So I have played around a little bit with chat in terms of tell me what I need to know if I'm going to be applying for new teaching jobs. So what you will see is some real-time experience from us.
Great. So do you want to go to your next slide, Jill? Let's do our little quick poll here to get
I
a,
do.
so here's the deal. Our intention today is to increase everybody's confidence with using ChatGPT or any of these other platforms. And so, what we want to do is we want to gauge right from the beginning, where are you? You know, just put into the chat, where are you? Are you a 0? Are you a 7? And I will tell you, when I first started working with Jill, I was probably a 1.5. So, I see a lot of 5s. I see a few 2s. That's great. And you should just know that the goal by the end of this workshop is, when we do the poll at the end, is to see an increase. So that's our agenda. We just want everybody to increase their confidence level with using this. So here's what happened. As Jill and I were talking about what to include in this workshop, we realized that the best way to do this was to actually use ChatGPT in particular to show how we identified the content for the workshop. So this is kind of the story of the conversation that we used to develop this workshop. And along the way, we want to share what we learned. And we also, if you have questions, please put them into the chat. And the request is, if you have a question, put a capital Q in front of it, so it's called out to us and we see immediately that you have a question. And Aaron and Doug, who, if you've been on any of the Encore sessions, you're familiar with both of them. They're going to be helping us monitor that. So, so Jill, do you want to explain what happened, how we got started with the initial outline and content for this workshop?
Yeah. So I think one way to conceive of chat, which I was always taught, I was in a business accelerator for about a year, when chat just kind of made its way into the market. And I was always taught to consider chat as an assistant. And I think it's a really brilliant way to conceive of AI, because an assistant is not a replacement. An assistant is someone or something that helps you do your job more effectively, more efficiently, and quicker. And I want you to conceive of it in that way. Now, what that means is you have to understand that chat gets a lot of things wrong. So you have to check, you have to it's really brilliant for people that are experts. So I have expertise in aging and retirement. I have expertise in knowledge transfer. So it's very easy for me to determine and assess whether or not chat is hallucinating. How many of you are familiar with that term? Take to the chat. How many of you are familiar with the term hallucinating when it comes to AI? Okay, so oh, many of you are. Okay. For those of you who aren't, essentially what can happen with chat is we're going to have a conversation. You're going to see, Amy and I are going to demo the conversation in real time. And it hasn't happened to me in this conversation, but there have been other instances where I've taken to chat to ask it about certain, respective subjects. And at some point, it goes a little bit, for lack of better words, it goes a little bit cuckoo, and it hallucinates. So it's going to start giving you bad information. So you certainly need to, I want to make it a point to tell you that chat can at times, it doesn't always give you the right information. So it's up to you to discern whether or not this information, is accurate or it's not. So when I took to chat, I find it really helpful, again, to conceive of chat as an assistant. What I did was, to prepare for this workshop with Amy, I put a prompt. This is called that what you're gonna, can you all see my screen, by the way? Because I changed out my slides. So can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Thank you. So, and I told chat, this is the query. Now, in AI language, we call it a prompt. Okay, so I'm prompting chat with a question. And this was my question. By the way, I apologize. If you see me, I use two screens when I do these workshops, and if I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm looking at chat. I'm looking at my second screen. So I asked it this. I said, if I was to conduct a workshop for older job seekers on how to get a job with the help of AI, what would you suggest I integrate as content? And how do you propose I go about making this an interactive webinar? So if you can see my second screen, I'm going to send this off to chat, and it's thinking, and in a moment you're going to see what it comes up with. I'm just going to let it do its thing for a second before I show you what it has suggested. So the beauty of chat is it's making these suggestions, right? It's telling me, if you could see my screen, you could see it says demystifying AI, which interestingly enough, as Amy could attest to. So the more you use chat, okay, the more it gets to know you. And interestingly enough, that is not the title it initially gave us. The title it initially gave us was, do you remember, Amy? I think it was harnessing.
Harnessing, yes.
Harnessing AI. And actually, we didn't like the word harnessing. So we went back and we said, let's change the word harnessing. Do you have any suggestions? And it came up. One of the suggestions was demystifying. But since I use the paid version, which we'll get to at the end, it's a little bit different than the free version. It's going to retain in its memory the conversations that I've had with it. So what it's suggesting now, what it's telling us is that it changed the word harnessing to demystifying because I have the paid version and because I told it I don't like the word harnessing. So, but as you can see, it's giving me some suggested content modules such as, okay, like the objective is let's reduce anxiety and explain AI simply. Let's talk about the hiring process and applicant tracking systems, which we'll get to in a moment. And what about how do we help people to increase their confidence level using this AI tool? So as you can see, within seconds, even as somebody who is well versed in workshop, creation, I couldn't possibly. This has really given me an advantage over just, sitting down and trying to figure this out, or even using Google. So it's really giving me an advantage on how to create something succinctly and quickly. And it gives me some interactive components because I asked it, how do I make this an interactive session? And so on and so forth. So we're not going to go into it, but it initially gave me, I believe, Amy, it gave me content for 90 minutes, right?
Right. And we said, no, let's see what it wants for 60. Exactly.
Right. So because which we didn't see, this is a live demo because we didn't practice it. It knows I've already asked chat when it initially gave me when I initially asked it to create this workshop. Off the bat, it gave me a session for 90 minutes. And I went back and I said to it, okay, thank you. Like the 90 minutes is a little bit too much time. So can you actually reduce it from 90 to 60? And it reduced the workshop actually from 90 to 60 minutes. And it even told me what changes it made. So it's not doing it in real time now because it knows me and because we've already had this conversation.
Great. Okay, so should we get into the first juicy topic, which is applicant tracking systems?
Applicant tracking systems, yeah. So how many of you know what an applicant tracking system is? No? You-
We got a lot of yeses. We got a few no's. All right, so let's get into it. Unfortunately, that's my favorite one there, Paul.
Okay,
Let's
so
start.
I'm going to ask Chad, I'm going to ask it, can you explain to me what an applicant tracking system is and why is it important to job search? So if you could see my screen, it's thinking. And you can see it's responding. An ATS system is a type of software that employers use to manage their hiring process. Think of it as a digital gatekeeper between you and a human recruiter. Companies receive hundreds or even thousands of applications for a single job. The ATS helps them collect applications, organize resumes, screen candidates using keywords and filters, rank applicants based on relevance. Now, why is it important? It's important because most resumes, which a lot of you I'm sure already know, never reach human eyes unless they pass the ATS system. How many of you know that? How many of you knew that?
Okay, good.
So if you use chat or you use the ATS systems, there's a greater propensity, there's a greater chance that you actually will be noticed by hopefully, get through the ATS gatekeeper. It's actually one of those things where it's regarded as a gatekeeper. So what does it help you do? Well, it helps you find the right keywords. It helps you simplify if you're anything like me, I have not, I haven't redone a CV since 2017. And my CV is from it's more academic than it is practical. And it was 9 pages long, which nobody's going to look at. So, chat was like, we need to reduce this. We need to create something that's more relevant to today. So, you want it to be relevant. You want it to be easy to read. You also want it to have, as the ATS system suggests, you want it to have keywords to align with the job description. Amy, do you want to say more about that? Because you have.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit more. So, I think about the resume. You basically want what you put into the ATS to make it look like you are almost a perfect clone, like the job description was written for you. And sometimes, that's challenging for us, but you just want to make it through, and you want to get a high score. So it's not that you're filtered out, but apparently there is a score that you get for your resume. And we all know that companies, recruiters, whatever, only have a limited amount of time. So just like, a good credit score, a good, score on a test, you want a good score on that. What you want to do is make it through. The interview is the time when you want to distinguish yourself, and that's where you want to shine. That's where you want to seem different. So I think it's really important. And the example I always give is, often they're asking for global experience, and you want to use the word global, not the word international. So, and then Jill, do you want to talk a little bit about the job scan thing here?
Sure. So if you could see my slide, chat is suggesting that we use tools like JobScan to show how well your resume matches with the job posting. But I didn't know what JobScan was. So let's ask chat what JobScan is. So I'm going to ask it to tell me, can you tell me a little more about JobScan? And here it tells me it's going to be concise. It gives me a concise explanation. JobScan is an online tool designed to help job seekers optimize their resumes so they can pass through the ATS, which Amy just spoke about, and get noticed by recruiters. How it works, you paste your resume into a box, you paste the job description into another box, you click scan, and voila, the tool compares the tool and gives you a match rate, usually a percentage out of 100, which keywords, and it will tell you what you're missing, which keywords are missing from your resume, whether your skills and experience align with the job, and suggestions to increase your score. It's
And I'll
useful.
just add that
Go
my
ahead.
daughter, when she began using it, it was a game changer for her getting um, interviews. So it really does work. And then after a while, she kind of knew what JobScan was going to tell her to do, and she didn't need to use it anymore. I don't know if it's still free. I think there was like a free part of it in the beginning, and then she actually paid for it for a couple of months. But it's definitely something to look into if you want to make sure that your resume is a match with that job description.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, Amy, because chat will is going to tell you. I didn't even ask for this, but it
Oh,
sounds
good.
right? What is the
Yeah.
free version paid? So the free version lets you run a limited number of scans per month, and the paid version offers unlimited scans, LinkedIn optimization, and more detailed tips. And then it's going to ask me, would you, okay, it's again, it's picking up from my previous conversations and it's asking me if I want a handout for my webinar regarding job scan. So again, it gets to know you over time and it picks up on the conversations that you've had with it. And it will enter in little details from those previous conversations to make sure that, you're considering everything you might need for, in this case, this particular workshop.
Okay. So now we are going to get into more into the resume stuff in a minute, but let's assume that you now have this resume. So the next question that came up when Jill and I were talking was, what about cover letters? Do you still need cover letters? And so, Jill, do you want to ask Chad about that?
Yeah, did we want to talk about bullet points first?
I think, yeah, we can. We can talk about bullet points. Sure, first. Let's do
Do any of you have if you have your resumes, even if they're old, if you or your CV is handy, this is a really great place to, you start using chat. Like this is, we asked you to come with two devices if that was possible, so that you can actually you start playing with chat. Um, and this is a really, so what I want to emphasize, what many of you might know, is that it's both an art and a science, I guess. The real magic to chat is what we would call prompt engineering, as I was saying before. So the term is called prompt engineering, and that's the question you're going to ask chat. The more descriptive you are, the more detail you put into the question box, the better response you're going to get. Now, one place where many people struggle when it comes to CVs and resumes is that how do you create these bullet points that have high impact, right? That is, are going to indicate and showcase your skill set to the recruiters, for the potential, to land you an interview. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to share with you both. I'm going to put it into chat. I'm also going to put it into the Zoom chat. So if you are following us in real time, this is a really good place to get your own bullets. Okay, take out your own bullets and let's ask chat to reformulate them for high impact. So is the question I'm asking is, I'll throw it into chat over here. And I give you examples as well, is I'm preparing my resume for a job application. Below is a list of skills, tasks, and responsibilities I've handled in previous roles. Can you help me turn them into strong, results-oriented bullet points using active language that's clear and appealing to both recruiters and ATS systems? Please format them as bullet points and, where possible, quantify the impact or outcome. Here's my list: coordinated team meetings, help train new employees, manage customer complaints, use Excel to track sales, help me plan events, answered phones, and responded to emails. I'm going to throw that into chat. You guys also have the opportunity to reformulate my prompt for your own, to align with your own resumes, and let's see what it will give us. So we will give that a minute, and we will give you a minute.
And actually, if you are using a second device and you have it, you want to go into chat, you could pick any bullet on your resume and just put it into chat and say, make this more robust or, more descriptive or more impactful, and just see what you get.
Anybody trying it? Yeah, Lynn's trying it great. And I mean, I could share with you what Chad has suggested for this particular example, but we're more interested in hearing from you. So if you have used it, if you are currently using it now, what are you trying to reformulate in terms of an impactful bullet?
So Paul is putting his entire resume in. Can you give us one bullet, Paul? And let's see what happens when we do that one. Is that okay? Write it in the chat or unmute yourself and just tell us what it is.
Okay, give me just a moment, please.
Okay.
Actually, I'm I'm submitting a sample resume that I use in a similar course. This is a resume for Cookie Monster,
Oh,
and he's applying for a taste testing position at Mrs. Fields. So I just want to give you a little bit of context.
That's awesome.
I was a big fan of Mrs. Fields. Is it even around anymore?
So did you have a bullet point, Paul?
Sure, give me just a
Oh,
moment
sorry.
here.
So while you put it into the chat, I see that Dana, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Why is it making up results? So if we look at what chat suggested for the prompt that I put into it, um, so it reformulated my bullet point, right? So it's saying coordinated and facilitated weekly meetings, ensuring clear communication of goals and boosting team productivity by 15%. It's making up those results. So if you keep in mind what my original point was, coordinated team meetings, it's making it much more impactful and it's putting numbers to it. So it's just giving me an indication of where I can actually add metrics. Metrics are really important for bullet points and for recruiters. So if you feel as though that's not accurate, don't put it in. But I would have never ever thought to actually put a number to this type of bullet point. So I think it's helpful to think through where can I actually use metrics. Amy, I know that you've been doing work with a recruiter in terms of high impact bullet points. Maybe you have
Yes,
something to say about this.
I do. And so what came up was, um, identify your accomplishments and get as specific as you can about what did you do and how did you do it and what the metrics were. But here's the caveat. When you're sitting in the interview, you can put whatever you want in your resume, but when you're sitting in the interview, you have to be able to really describe what you actually did. So, those, it is crucial and you want to use active verbs and all of that. But whatever you come up with, just make sure that it's telling an authentic story that you can feel comfortable sharing and that there's not going to be sort of a tell when they ask you about that particular bullet point. You need to hit the bullseye, but it needs to be, completely truthful.
I'm just looking at the chat. So I might have skipped a few. I apologize, but Amy, if I skipped anything, please jump in.
Okay,
Yeah, I see that Ashley says she entered her bullet
yeah.
points in the skills section of my resume asking that they be made more impactful. It certainly punched them up, maybe a bit too much, but useful for me to work with. Exactly. Okay, so let me share some sub experience as an adjunct professor. Teaching executive MBAs whose average age is about 35 to 40, I still get people who are using chat to create assignments, which is very depressing and demoralizing, but that's a different discussion. Um, the point is, I don't have any problem with my students using chat. But again, to Ashley's point, if this is too much for you, you don't take chat's responses as is. So it's a little bit much to say I resolved customer complaints promptly and professionally, maintaining a 95% customer satisfaction rate. If that is not an active reflection of my experience, that number should not be there. So let me reiterate, use chat as an assistant, use it as a guidepost, use it as a best practice, but you don't need to take it as is and then put it into your resume and send it off to, to the recruiter. You need to be discerning. And to Amy's point, it needs to align with your experience, because if you have, if you do get invited to an interview, you want your experience to align with your resume. So don't put anything in there that is not accurate. But most of us really, like, in all honesty, I don't know about you, Amy, I couldn't come up with these bullet points,
No.
make as impactful bullet points, more so if I could. I promise you it would take me 7 hours, not 7 seconds. So again, be discerning. Use it as your assistant. You don't need to take it as is.
It's an amazing time saver. And I'll tell just a quick story. It isn't about doing this, but there's another workshop that I'm going to be doing next month, and I struggled with the description, and I don't know, it didn't seem that great. And finally, I don't know how many hours I spent thinking about it. And then I don't know why, but I just woke up one morning and I thought, why the heck don't I ask Chat? And I took what I had and I put it into Chat, and just before I put it in there, I wrote, make this more enticing. And within, I swear, 10 seconds, it came back with a description that I completely fell in love with. And if you have a chance, you can go to the Encore event site and see the description. And I wish I could take I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. I mean, it came out so, it's such a time saver. And as somebody who designs workshops and all of you who are trying to do these resumes, it's a great time saver. And, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit in the miracle category at this point, if you're using it as Jill is suggesting.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And Diana, to your point, Diana wrote a really interesting comment in the chat about, asking for a little bit more details, right? Who did you coordinate team meetings with? Who did you communicate with? Well, great questions, that you can take to your client. Like really great questions that if you feel as though this is too generic, let's go, let's delve a little bit further. And that's where a lot of people are so fearful of chat replacing them, where what great questions to be asking your client about, refining these bullet points. So not everybody's going to be replaced.
So here's something that I do want to mention, and that is, not only do we want to use chat or AI, but when you are doing resumes, it really does seem like it is something that you want to put, if you have experience with it, into your resume. Um, Jill, do you want to just tell the story about when you were recently applying for that position and the difference between what you had in your resume a few years ago and what you felt needed to be included now?
Absolutely. I'm Canadian and I live in Quebec. And our system is actually very different than the rest of Canada. So we have our high schools go to grade 11, and then we have 2 years of really what you would consider college or university. But it's a little bit different. You need to go into this system called the CJEP system in order to get into university. But I share this because it's a nuance, right? Like number one, there's about 7 million people in this province. It's very like I was so shocked that chat would even know anything about this system because there's not many people that go through it. But as I was applying for different teaching jobs in this system, which I come from the university system, I was really curious to know if chat could tell me, like, if you look at my resume, which was designed as for a university professorship, how do I need to alter it, to send it to a CJEP? So it actually gave me some very clear details about where the distinct differences. But more than anything, I also was curious to know. I wanted to know as a teacher, as a professor, have things changed at all in terms of the way that teachers are teaching or in the way that CJEFs are hiring. And it not only did it tell me what changes were happening at the CJEP level, but it actually gave me details about which institution was looking for which different skill set. And it turns out that AI, certainly in this province, is a big conversation. And the conversation is around, are you using AI? Are you using the chat GPTs of the world in order to teach your students how to use it? We're entering a phase where either you're going to shy away from it completely, which clearly is not you guys because you're on this call, or we're going to learn how do we integrate it into our life. And for the people that are in there, from 18 to 21, this is the reality. This is their reality. This is their world, right? So it was very clear to me in terms of where I was applying what I needed to incorporate in terms of the newer skill set that they're looking for for teachers. And again, what was so surprising to me was how did it have this detailed, like these details about such a small percentage of the global population that is, that enrolls in this type of institution. So you'd be amazed at what chat knows. Again, I think you need to, you need to ensure that that is accurate. But to Amy's point, within seconds, it gave me a lot of food for thought and things that I should be thinking about integrating into my own resume.
And you know what? Based on working with you, Jill, I actually put on my LinkedIn page that I now have a passion for utilizing AI in the design of workshops because that's the world we're in. And I think the more reps we all get and familiarity we have with it, and even if you haven't had that much experience, when you go for an interview, there's a high likelihood that you're going to be asked, how comfortable are you? What have you used? That sort of thing. So it may just be something that you want to start getting comfortable with and just being curious about, how it might work for you. So Jill, let's move now to another thing, if you will, and that is um, interview prep. Are you good with doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just see that Les asked me a question, and I thought I had
Okay,
put my interview prompt, but I'm putting it in again in case you guys, again,
okay,
it's just a
great.
place to start for the prompts. The more detailed you get with your prompts, the better information you're going to get, better response you're going to get from chat. So we are moving to Amy, remind me, interview,
Yeah, the kind of the interview prep.
the
Um,
interview prep. Okay,
yeah.
so all right.
And what we talked about was, well, I'll tell a quick story and then we can, maybe you want to pick a job or someone, if you will, put a job into the chat that you would like us to ask for interview questions. How's that? Somebody pick, I don't care if it's a current job or if, job you had in the past, just tell us a job and put that in there. So executive coach, great. Project
Okay.
manager, arts painter. All right, so let's ask chat that.
So
Pick one of those.
So everybody, I put in the chat the prompt I'm going to use for this question. I'm just going to go ahead and Amy, what job would you like to choose?
How about project manager? Let's do that. And just while Jill is doing that, I will tell you that one of the people that I'm also a career coach. One of the people that I was working with was going for a job interview for to be the director of information services. And she actually asked Chat what the questions were that she might be asked. And when she went in for the interview, not only did the panel ask her that list of questions, they asked it in that exact order to the point where she had to stop herself from laughing and saying, did you want to ask me this question next? So this is a tool that is just being used on both sides by the interviewers and the interviewees. So might as well give yourself a leg up. All right, so let's see what you have come up with here, Jill, for the
Okay, so
project manager.
the question is, I'm preparing for an interview for a project management position. Can you help me come up with common interview questions I might be asked for in this role and help me draft strong answers based on the job requirements? Now, I didn't have more information about project management, but if you are the person that suggested project management, if you look at my prompt in the chat on Zoom, you will see that there's a place where I tell it, here's a quick summary of my background. And this is where you would put in, you would describe your past roles because it's going to help develop questions for you based on your past roles, assuming that the recruiters are going to be looking at your experience. So let's ask Chat this question about project management.
So Lori, you're the one that gave us that. Do you want to just give us a past role? Would that work for you, Jill, if she put something
Of
in?
course. Yeah.
Okay. So Lori, do you want to unmute yourself or just put it in chat? What do you want to do?
Sure. Um, I would say an implementation project manager for a retail company.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to, first, Amy, I'm going to look at what Chat gave us initially
Sure.
without that description, okay?
Okay.
So below are common interview questions for a project management role, along with sample answers you can adapt to your experience and the specific job requirements. So you might be asked, can you walk me through a recent project you managed from start to finish? Or how do you prioritize tasks when managing multiple projects? How do you handle project delays or miss deadlines? Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult stakeholder. How do you ensure your team meets project goals? So, and it also, because we asked it, it gave us some suggestions for answers, right? So if we look at question number 3, actually this question I really like. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult stakeholder. Well, a sample answer, again, be discerning and adapt it to your experience. In one project, a stakeholder kept me requesting changes that would jeopardize the timeline. I scheduled a one-on-one to understand their concerns and walk them through the scope, timeline, and trade-offs using a visual roadmap. By involving them in a risk assessment, they ultimately agreed to phase their requests into future releases. So, again, maybe this is not your exact experience, but it gives you some ideas about how to respond, right? Who would have thought about a risk assessment? Yeah, I'm not in project management, so I wouldn't have thought of that. But things that, again, that might be interesting to, at the very least, consider, right? Maybe I should talk about risk assessment. Maybe I should talk about having that one-on-one. Maybe I should actually talk about having a roadmap. Maybe it can also give you suggestions if you're currently in this role and you don't know how to deal with a difficult stakeholder. Chat can also help you advise you on what you can use, how you can actually deal with somebody who's challenging.
So here's another thought. I know a lot of people are in a position now where they're having to pivot. They're having to change whatever they were maybe doing for years and trying to kind of reframe the work they did and do it in a different venue. I don't know if that was your case, Lori, or not. But what seems so important about this to me is if I wasn't a project manager before, but I did something similar.
Yes,
Here, I need the mic because Nancy can't use.
okay. Oh, she can't.
What's happening? Somebody needs to mute themselves.
I already muted them.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Right, but I guess what I was trying to say is this list of questions is great, particularly if you are trying to transition into something that isn't an exact fit with what you used to do. This just gives you so many great questions to think about. And also, I think it's great if you are seeing if maybe you are aligned with this particular job. So Jill, what are you asking now?
So I want to ask it what Lori told us, and I'm trying to read my writing. Lori told us, if I'm not mistaken, that you were an implementation project manager for a retail company. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask it, would these questions change if I was a implementation project manager for a retail company? Now we're getting, this is great because now we're getting more specific.
Yes.
So you're going to alter the prompts to, well, you might alter the entire prompt, or you're going to alter the prompt for your specific situation. So we see here that Chad is telling us, yes, some questions would shift in focus when you're applying for an implementation project manager role in a retail setting. While many core project management questions stay the same, interviewers will likely tailor questions to focus more on systems and process rollouts, cross-functional coordination, change management and training for line retail staff, customer experience impact, speed, and scale, especially during seasonal periods or store launches. What do you think of that, Lori? Is that helpful?
I think that's great. Yeah, that's exactly. I think the key word there was retail, and then it brought in some of the buzzwords that I would have used.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it kind of amazing. I'm fascinated by the whole thing. Um, so any specific questions that anybody has? Again, we encourage you, go in, pick a job, and see what you get for the bullets, see what you get for the interview questions, see what you get for the answers. Just play around with it, and frankly, surprise yourself. Um, we did have one question that somebody sent, and I don't know if she's on the call, but here was the question, Jill, and can we put it into chat?
Sure.
It was, how can I combat or compete with the AI bots that are applying for jobs posted on LinkedIn? And it says, I've seen many posts that have only been live for an hour, and they show more than 100 applicants. Most of those must be from bots and not actual human beings. It's very discouraging. But let's just see what we get for the answer to this question. And I don't know if other of you are finding this. You may want to put it in the chat. Are you feeling like um, like bots are responding to jobs?
So I love what it just said. Okay, that's a smart, and I love that Chad is very, like it will positively reinforce you. So Chad is saying that's a smart and important question, especially in today's job market where AI bots and automated mass applications are flooding platforms like LinkedIn. Here's how you can stand out and compete effectively, not by out spamming the bots, but by being more strategic, human, and visible. So don't rely on easy apply alone. I think that's LinkedIn's, there's a button, right, that you can easily apply. So it's telling us don't rely on it alone. AI bots thrive on LinkedIn's one-click easy apply option. Recruiters often receive hundreds of low-quality applications through it. That's really good to know. So what should you do instead? If possible, apply directly on the company's website. Send a short, personalized message to the recruiter or hiring manager. Use the job posting or tailor your resume and add a short cover note, even if it's optional. Humanize your LinkedIn activity, how you can stand out. Start engaging with the company's posts. Comment on relevant industry content or tag people thoughtfully. Post about your own journey, learning a new skill, attending an event, reading a relevant book. Follow the hiring manager or team leader and interact with their content authentically. Should I go on, Amy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated. So let's see. Yeah, let's see if there's one more thing. Yeah, looks great.
Optimize your profile for humans and the algorithm. So AI bots can create generic profiles, but yours can tell a cohesive and compelling story. There's that narrative issue coming up again. Use a strong headline beyond just your job title, project manager, retail tech implementations, POS and ERP specialist. Remember, the more specific and detailed you get, the better chances you have of actually being seen. Include keywords from the job description, especially in your about and experience sections. Upload a personalized resume under featured. Ask for a few fresh recommendations that speak to your skills.
Amazing. I don't know if what other people think. I mean, is it just me? But I didn't know any of that.
I did not know any of that. And what's really cool, if you're like, I don't know, if you're like, I don't know what to tell a recruiter, well, just ask chat.
Yeah.
Right? Chat will get actually, and sometimes it will even suggest it. So reach out directly, but thoughtfully. So if your chat doesn't suggest it, it knows me. So it knows I'm going to ask it some follow-up questions. But if it didn't know you, ask it to help you. So here it's giving you a template. My name is, I came across the job title opening at your company and was excited by the alignment with my background. I've just applied and wanted to personally introduce myself. Happy to share more about how I've led similar projects in the past. Thanks for your time. Now, if you're concerned that that's too generic and chat is giving that to everybody else who is asking it the same question, you're smart people. Just change it, right? But the beauty is you don't have to start from scratch. It's giving you a really great guideline on how you can reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn.
So
And,
here's some, Amy and Jill, some questions that we
Yeah.
want to squeeze in.
right.
And one of them has, and maybe this is something that we can use chat to get an answer to, and that is, how does one translate a federal resume, federal government, into a private sector relevant resume?
Okay, so I need more details. I mean, we could actually do the experiment. We could put that question into chat, but can you tell me a little bit more about federal doing what? What did you do as a federal employee, and where do you want to transition? Like, what do you want to transition into in the private sector?
So that gets to another question, which is, why are prompts chattier with ChatGPT, no pun intended there, than in other search queries?
Because the more detail that you can provide to chat, the better response you get with, right? I think James, can you mute? That'd be great. Thank you. Did everybody hear that response? I'll just repeat it so the more detail you provide to chat, the better and more specific detailed response it could give you. And I even use chat, I will tell it, I will say, here's my prompt. Can you actually help me reformulate it? You can ask it to help you do that too. It's my assistant, right? I'm not great with prompts. Maybe it can help me become more detailed. So, but what I could tell you, Hull, is from this example, is that, the more specific you could get about what did you do as a federal employee and where do you want to transition, that it will give you it will give you a response. But I don't know. Let's say you don't know. Let's say you just got laid off as a federal employee. You thought you would have work for life, and you never assumed you were going to be in this position where you're going to be in the private sector. So we can ask it to give us some ideas.
Right.
Do you guys try that?
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
So let's try that. So I am a federal.
But you would feed your resume in so that it had specific
Yeah.
information about your background.
Right.
You can, yeah, or you don't have to, or you can feed it in afterwards. Sure.
There was one question, Jacqueline, you asked about the cover letters. I think the answer is you just ask, like, on the LinkedIn thing, what it gave out to you, the hi, I came across this job thing. That's sort of a cover letter. What we found when we prompted chat on that was it depends. So again, it just depends on what the applicant tracking system is. If you can find somebody in that company, I just want to go on record by saying the number one way to find a job still is through networking. That's it. I mean, if you so yes, these ATSs are there, but you want to utilize any connections that you have at that company. And that's maybe what you want to do. You want to go into chat and find out Who do you know? How can, who's on the board? Whatever connection you can find, that's still the name of the game. All right.
So two other questions
Yeah.
about chat. And one is, are there some overall tips for effective prompts? Is it just give it as much information as you've got and see what it can produce? Or are there some better approaches than others in terms of getting the best responses?
I actually asked Chat that, and there is. So if everybody wants to know that, just go in yourself. That's a great follow-up thing to do from this session, is just ask Chat, how do I write the best prompts? And you will get a whole list of what they suggest. It's all in there.
And the other thing to note is there are literally courses given on prompt engineering. Courses. Let me repeat that, courses, like an entire course on how to do this. So I would say, to Amy's point, just have some fun with it. Like, just ask it some questions, get a little bit more detailed. I know people that put in pages and pages of details for what they're trying to create. And the more, again, the more detail you give it, the better response it's going to give you. But sometimes we don't even know what to ask, right? I don't know if any of you have ever been in that position. Sometimes we don't even know what kind of question we should formulate. So if we were starting with something more general, as our previous example suggested, let's see what Chat has to say to us. So I wrote to Chat, I'm a federal US employee and was laid off from my position. I want to transition into the private sector. Can you give me some tips on how to go about making this transition successful? Pretty generic. There's not much detail here. Let's see what it tells us. Okay, so I don't know if you can all read it, but it says, transitioning from the federal government to the private sector can be a major change, but it's very doable with the right strategy. The key is to translate your experience, shift your mindset, and connect with private sector expectations, which I think it's what Amy has been alluding to. Here's a roadmap to help you make the transition successfully. Reframe your resume for the private sector. Federal resumes tend to be long, dense, and full of acronyms. The private sector prefers concise, achievement-based, 1 to 2 page resumes. What should you do? Focus on results using bullet points. Quantify when possible. I saved money. I improved X process by X amount. I increased efficiency. Translate federal terms. So an example is your GS13 program analyst would be a senior program analyst, strategic initiatives. I wonder if it actually thinks I'm Canadian. So it might be actually giving responses based on what a federal Canadian employee, what their title is. And look how beautiful this is. Would you like help rewriting a federal resume into a private sector version? Yes, Chat, I would. And then I would, again, upload my resume, right? It's also telling us we should change our LinkedIn profile. We should update it. Private employers are actively using LinkedIn to screen candidates. Write a compelling about section summarizing your strengths and your goals. Use keywords from the private sector. Get recommendations from supervisors or colleagues. Add a sentence to your headline like open to private sector opportunities. Should I go on? Or does that give you a good idea of what you can ask it and where to start?
Well, there's one other question that, well, actually several others, but another one that has to do with the plus version of chat versus the free version. Besides the cost and some of the things, how is it different? What are the advantages of the plus version? You talked about it, the fact that it has memory. Are there other advantages?
You know what, Doug, I'm going to ask Chat to explain it. And this was to Amy's credit. She suggested we do this. So we had this, this was like the last thing we were going to do, but let's skip to it for now.
Yeah.
So question to Chat is, can you explain how the free version of Chat GPT compares to the paid version? What do I get if I upgrade to Chat GPT Plus? So let us see what it tells us. So here's a clear breakdown you can share in your workshop. Okay, can you all see this? So it actually gave us a table. The free version is using 3.5. The paid version is using ChatGPT 4. I believe there's also 4.5 right now. And it's telling us that GPT-4 is turbo, so it's quicker. My second feature is response time. So the free version is standard. In the ChatGPT Plus, I get faster responses. Access during peak times. So as somebody who's a paid subscriber, I no longer get those, the system is too busy, because the system is never too busy for the paid subscribers, or I've never had that issue. So because as a paid subscriber, you get priority access. You don't have to wait as long. The quality of responses. The free version is good for everyday tasks, but the monthly version, paid version, is more accurate, it's more nuanced, and it's capable of complex tasks. Image understanding, I don't know what it means. I guess you can upload an image, and oh, I think you can upload an image like a plant and ask it what kind of plant it is. That's not available on the free version. You cannot, so for those of you, I don't think if you are using the free version, I don't think you can actually upload your resumes. So I don't think that you have that option. But with the paid version, you can upload your PDFs, your Word documents, and even spreadsheets. Custom instructions, it's limited, whereas with the paid version, it has enhanced and control memory. So you see that with my chat, it remembers what I've asked. It knows me. It has gotten to know me. So it's going to really bring in some of those details and knowledge of me. Web browsing is not available. So sometimes I will go in and I will ask it questions about research, like what is the latest research on employees, that are 70 plus. And it will scour the internet looking for that information. And by the way, I specifically tell them I tell Chat to give me references. Where did you get this data from? Because I want to ensure that the data is accurate and credible. So it seems as though it doesn't allow you to do that on the paid version, on the free version, and access to tools like Python and charts. That's not available on the free version. But now what's really interesting is chat. So let's say, so Amy might appreciate this if she doesn't know it, or maybe there's other coaches on the call, you're doing workshops, you're doing seminars, you're really, you're running against the deadline. You need chat to create a slide deck for you. Well, chat could create a slide deck for you. And now it has a more advanced version where it will show you the code. So you can actually change, let's say you don't like how it asks a question, you could change it before you download the actual slide deck. So it will show you the code, and you don't need to know code in order to use it. I don't know code, but I've used it to create slide decks for classes. And I'm like, it's asking me, this question is not, it's not being asked appropriately. And I could actually change it again before I download the slide deck. So it just makes your life easier. You don't have to download 50 versions of your slide deck. So I would say that as somebody who is a paid subscriber, especially if you're going to use it for a job search, I think it's worth the $20. It's 20 US dollars. It's like 150 Canadian dollars. But the point being, this is an important activity, right? Finding a job is an important activity, and you should stack the cards in your favor. So the beauty is you don't have to pay for a year. You could pay for a month. That's all, you could pay for 2 months. So you can pay monthly. So that's something to consider.
Ashley's
somebody-
asking an important question about privacy and
Yes.
security.
Amy, do you want to take that on?
I don't know. What the question is, what about privacy? If I'm uploading, this was Ashley's question. If I'm uploading docs to the paid version, what happens to them?
So I don't know. I'm going to be really honest with you. I know privacy is a big issue for universities. So in my world, it is a big issue. We can ask it. We can ask Chat. You should know that I do believe you can ask Chat not to upload, not to make your documents public. But let's ask it. So I asked it, not a very good prompt. Can you tell me some of the issues regarding privacy with regards to the free and paid version of chat? So it says, absolutely. Privacy is an important concern when using any AI tool, including ChatGPT, whether you're using the free or the paid version. And here are the key issues to be aware of. Your data may be used to train models. By default, OpenAI may use your conversations, free or paid, to help improve model performance. This means your inputs could be reviewed by humans at OpenAI. Two, you can opt out. You can opt out of having your data used for training by turning off chat history and training in settings. And it tells us how to do it. No end-to-end encryption. Conversations with ChatGPT are not encrypted end-to-end like messaging apps like WhatsApp. This means they could technically be accessed by authorized personnel at OpenAI, especially if flagged for a review. File uploads, GPT-4 Turbo allows you to upload files, including resumes, PDFs, spreadsheets. While convenient, uploaded files may also be stored temporarily and subject to review if your history is on. Best practice, avoid uploading documents that include sensitive personal data. So don't upload. So this is actually a very good tip. Don't upload your social insurance number. Don't upload tax documents. Don't upload medical records or confidential work-related files. I do have a friend who's a neurologist that actually consults on legal cases. So medical cases that go to court. He will not use chat for particularly for this issue for
Yeah.
privacy issues because these are actual private matters. So I think it's a really great question, Ashley. And again, I would caution you to be discerning.
So, Doug, any other burning questions that you saw?
Someone asked if we had any ideas about what the courses were that Jill referred to, where you can actually learn about prompt engineering.
Yeah, so go to Coursera. If you don't know Coursera, you should. It's a beautiful platform. I'm putting it in the chat so you know how to spell it. And I believe as of late, they might even have a certificate in prompt engineering, but you will definitely find courses on Coursera for prompt engineering.
And it seems to me that a great thing to do would be to take, even if it's just a short course, maybe you even want to put this one down somewhere on your LinkedIn page or resume, just to show that you are in the mode of learning about AI and it's, trying to get better at it. Just anything you take seems like it would add that particular, uh, not credential, but at least it would show that it's a skill that you're working on and trying to learn more about.
So you can see how I use chat all the time. So this was a great question. As Amy was talking, I asked chat, tell me about courses. Tell me about courses on prompt engineering. So you have one course offered by OpenAI. You have deep, okay, Coursera. The course is Deep Learning by Andrew NG and OpenAI. That's on Coursera. Do you all know about Coursera? It's in a beautiful
Mhm.
platform. If you don't know about it, you can you can do free or paid to get the certificate. And I think to Amy's point, especially for those of us that are older job seekers, if you are showing and you're indicating to the market, right, signaling to the market that you have actually done a course in AI, that can only help you, right? That can only help you in today's market. So something to think about. Learn prompting, free open source curriculum from beginners to advanced. Coursera, there's another course, how non-technical professionals can write better prompts. So something to consider. I will let you guys do some more research about that. But
And
that,
Aaron has mentioned that LinkedIn Learning also has some good courses on prompt engineering.
If you have a premium account.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I learned a ton. I hope everybody else did. just, we're curious. Let's go back to the confidence level. And so where are you now on the scale from 0 to 7? Just let us know. Where are you compared to where you were when we started this?
I
All
don't
right.
remember the numbers. Do you, Amy? Like, I guess, do you feel more confident now?
Yeah. All right. That's great. That's great. Um, so thank you all for participating. Um, And Jill, do you have any final comments before we turn it over to Doug?
Yeah, my final comment would be like, just use it. Like Nike, just do it. Just do
Right.
it. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Be conscientious about those privacy issues. Just try it. And there's a multitude of AI platforms on the market. Chat is not the only one. We just encourage you to really, our objective was we not only wanted to demystify it, but we wanted to really help you build your confidence level and just see it's just fun. It's fun to use. So that would be I'm going to echo Nike. Just do it and pass it to you for parting thoughts, Amy.
No, that's it. I find not only is it fun, I'm just constantly surprised by the results. And I guess that's my wish. We all kind of need some positive, surprises in our life these days. And I don't know, I just think it's a great time saver. And Erin is just saying that we will be sending the recording out on this by the end of the week. And you may want to pass it on to friends of yours and family and anybody who is a job seeker who maybe didn't attend and they can go in and possibly listen to the recording. All right, so Doug.
So thank you both to Amy and to Jill for a wonderful program. And this is typical of the kinds of programming that we do if you haven't been with us previously. And if you haven't, I'm going to spend a minute talking about 3 upcoming programs. But before I do, I also want to mention that we're right in the middle of a spring membership campaign. If you're not already a member of the Encore Network, now is the best time to join between now and May 25th, because we have reduced the rates to join by 25%. So this is a sweet deal, the best probably you'll ever see in terms of the Encore Network. And we strongly encourage you to take a look at not just our events, but also becoming more deeply embedded in the organization, participating in all the ways that we make it possible to do. So we'll be sending information about that when we send the recording out later this week. We also have some upcoming programs that I want to mention briefly. One is next Wednesday, when we'll be talking about something called a Kickstart Retirement Deck. And this is a tool that's been designed by a young woman who was concerned about the struggles that her grandparents first and then her own parents were experiencing and making the transition into their retirement years. And she's come up with a really fascinating tool, and she's looking to get input, to introduce it, to see how each of us thinks we can use it, and suggestions to her about how she can market it and use it, make it more useful to a broad range of people. So learn about the tool and contribute to her ongoing development of this tool next Wednesday, April 30th. Then in the middle of May, we'll be returning to the AI theme, but we'll be talking about AI in the context of entrepreneurship, and specifically solopreneurship. That is, people who are running one-person businesses, typically as consultants, as freelancers, as business people who maybe use contract workers but don't hire staff. One of the reasons they can do this is because of AI and the ways in which the various AI tools can be helpful to entrepreneurs. Len Friest, who is on this call, will be on the panel. There are two others. The program will be led by Mary Cronin, who is a professor of entrepreneurship at Boston College. So this will be another informative program that touches on the theme of AI. And then, Amy, do you want to talk about a program that you're doing later in the month of May?
Yeah. It's based on a book that I really have enjoyed reading called Life in Three Dimensions. And just to kind of net it out, basically, I think we're all looking for ways to have more energy, more excitement, enrich our lives. And this is based on research by somebody who specializes in happiness and enriching your life. And I think if you join us, you'll come away thinking about, well, you know what? There are some simple things I can do that are going to enrich my life, and who isn't looking for that right now? So I hope you'll, take the time, make the time, and join us.
So thanks to everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again soon. We'll get some information out to you by the end of the week, and have a wonderful afternoon.